where does this masterpiece fall? Let's rank this film on the Cageometer.
So I guess the big ultimate question here is, we'll start with Vince. Where does Raising Arizona rate on your Cageometer?
All right, for the movie, a 9. I got to give it a 9. I hadn't seen this film in a long time, and I was very happy to see that it held up. I felt like it was told very well. It was paced really well. The performances that they got out of everybody, even like we talked about, the one-off characters, it just really built this beautiful world that worked really well together. It was funny as all hell. One of my favorite Coen Brothers movies, for sure. Mm-hmm. And I'm really happy to see that it holds up over time. For Cage, give him a 9 as well. I thought he did such a great job with this character. They really got the best out of him. And like we talked about before, once again, you don't see this performance out of him ever again. This is a very unique performance that they drew out of him. And I think it worked really well with the story that they were telling and the character. And, by the end of the film, you really do feel like he's a good guy who just makes really bad decisions, and you can't help but root for him, right? He really wants to try to do right, but he is somebody that just can't get out of his own way, can't get out of his path, and always goes back to doing these bad things. And I just love the way that he played it. He never got super crazy. He never mailed it in. He just really he really clicked with that character, and it brought that character to life and helped the movie flow. And it's one of the best performances that we've seen during season 1. This and Pig are two of my favorite performances from him out of all the films that we've seen. Oh, and Mandy. Those are like my top 3 right there. I know you guys thought Trapped in Paradise would be my number 1, but I just gotta boot it down. Gotta boot it down a little bit, but yeah, I mean, man, I forgot how good this film is, and it was so good. It was so nice to see it hold up, and it's a shame they never worked together again, because I think they could do something, and maybe, who knows, maybe they will, because I think they get the best out of him, and I would love to see them take a more mature Nick Cage and help him craft a character inside of their world again. Yeah,
I would love to see a serious Coen Brothers film with Nick Cage in it.
Yeah.
I would love to see him work with the Coen Brothers in anything ever again. Maybe that's how they'll ride off into the sunset, and their final film will be bring Nick Cage back.
Yeah. 90-year-old Nick Cage doing a movie with 100-year-old Coen Brothers.
their final film. All right, Nigel, where does Raising Arizona rate on your Cageometer?
Yeah, so this was the first and only time I've seen this movie, but I gave it a 9 out of 10 as well. And some parts of it didn't quite click for me, and I was thinking initially of a lower score, like an 8 out of 10. It's still good, but not, some of the stuff was campy. Some of the things just didn't quite match up. Like I said, my main critique being the supernatural elements were there, but didn't seem like they needed to be. They were kind of confusing and muddled, but I think they also don't really make the movie worse by being there. I think if anything, they just make it better, especially I feel like on repeat viewings, like most of the Coen Brothers movies, this would just get better and better the more you watched it. Doesn't seem like it would get stale. Still seems like it would be entertaining. Like you said, the pacing, Vince said the pacing is good. It is. It never drags. It's only an hour and a half long, so it just goes right along. It doesn't feel like it's overstaying its welcome. It's it was entertaining. It was fun. I hadn't seen a Coen Brothers movie this early before, so I was kind of wondering if their style was there yet, because I think the earliest I've seen is Big Lebowski, which I guess wasn't that many years after this, but what was that, 93 or something?
No, I think it was like
99.
Late 90s.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So
It was 99 or 2000.
So yeah, so it was about 10 years after this came out. So but it was there. Their style was there. You could see that they hadn't quite, got to the point where they got when they were doing things like No Country for Old Men stuff, which is one of the other ones I've seen, or Fargo. But it still has that charm and that feel to it, which is good. They got a great performance out of all the actors. Everybody, like you said, or like we've said, even random one-off characters that show up for 20 seconds of screen time are memorable. So, great movie. And then for the man himself, I also give him a 9 out of 10. So I put him on par with things that I've said, like, what are the other 9s I've given? I think Mandy and...
I think Mandy
Deadfall.
and...
I think I gave him a 9 for Deadfall as well.
I feel like you gave him an 8 for
maybe it was an 8.
Deadfall. And I think you gave him an 8 for Vampire's Kiss as well.
Could be, yeah. But I give a 9 on this because for as early in his career as it was, it still doesn't feel like... it feels Nicolas Cage, but also not. He feels distinct from everything else we've seen him in. You can see that he had the talent to go on to be the actor that he is today, that we know him to be. He made a unique version of that character. I don't know how much of that was him and how much was Coen's. It seems like it was mostly Coen Brothers because they wouldn't let him do whatever he wanted to do with the character. But I think he may have still, obviously it would have been a different movie if they'd cast Kevin Costner to do it, he straddles that line of, being a leading man, but also being a cartoon character and, not being the toughest big shot in the movie, but also still being the protagonist and the hero, who wins in the end and overcomes himself and Smalls, which I guess maybe also was himself, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's entertaining. He's charming. He's funny. You get that sense of exactly what the character is. He's just, a good guy with a checkered past, but, it's just petty crimes. They're not like horrible things for it. So you can still root for him. And he does play that sense of innocence that the character has as well. He's just kind of a naive, lovable idiot. And I think I don't know if that's a particularly hard role to get down, but he does it in a way that seems really natural, and you just kind of buy into the character, and it helps the movie. So, I think this is one of the more memorable performances he has, but it's different from his other, memorable performances. So, it speaks to his quality as an actor even back then. Yep.
I'm shocked that you guys matched my rating, as I also gave him a 9. I thought Nigel might hate it based on some things that we've done in the past, just because it's a quirky film. But I love this movie so much, and it's like very near and dear to me. Like I said, it was the first Coen Brother movie that I ever saw, and I was a little kid when I saw it, and I loved it back then. And that speaks, I think, to the Coen Brothers in general. Is like, this is entertaining to children. This is entertaining to adults. This is entertaining to everybody. And I think that's one of their hallmarks, is that anybody can get something out of this film. Not all films that they do. A lot of them are a little more heavy, such as like a Fargo or No Country for Old Men, or, I would say like Burn After Reading even has kind of these cartoon elements. It's a little more violent, but like, a film like that, or Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? I mean, that one, that kids, adults, everybody can get into that film.
Yep, I watched that one as a kid. Liked it a lot.
It was one of my grandpa's like favorite films. It was just funny. Like, children can like it, older people can like it. Anybody can get into it. I love this film to death, and I'll echo the same things that you guys said. Like, every single character in it is memorable, enjoyable. Even just like the smallest person, like the guy in the truck, screaming as they're driving down the road, like, boy, you got a panty on your head. It's masterful. And, and I think that's the Coen Brothers to a T, is like, they just make everything their own, and they make every person, really feel integral to the story that they're trying to tell. And a lot of films and a lot of directors will just kind of have a character who's just a throwaway, but like the Coen Brothers somehow make everybody memorable. As far as Cage, I also gave him a 9, because he just disappears. I mean, I've never seen this performance out of Nick Cage. You know, a similar style of performance, and he's done 100 films. You know, and I do wonder if it's because the Coens were really like honing in on the character that they wanted out of this, but Nick Cage also brought so much to it. Like, I don't feel like the Woody Woodpecker thing was the Coen Brothers idea. I think that was Nick Cage, and without it, this character isn't this character. So that is 100% Nicolas Cage bringing that to this. I can see, I bet you they did have a lot of battles back and forth, but, you know, great directors really get the best out of him, you know, and we've seen that throughout. You know, if it's a director who's not, you know, challenging him, then he's going to give a dog-eat-dog performance. Or, you know, some of the other films that we've seen where he's not quite as engaged. And I honestly think that he likes that. I think he likes a director challenging him and pushing back on him and making him do something that he may not, you know, agree with. And he speaks very highly of the Coen Brothers. You know, he's been asked publicly about, you know, his experience on the film and how he feels about the Coen Brothers, and he's never had a bad word to say about them, which makes me sad that they haven't worked together again. And I think that's probably more to do with the Coen Brothers, who are kind of like, I don't really want to work with a guy who's just going to push back on everything that we say. You know, they have their kind of staple character actors that they use a lot. You know, they have John Goodman has been in a million Coen Brothers movies. Blanking on his name, but the guy who was no, not that Mother Scratcher. That guy's been in a lot of their films. The guy who played Milton in Office Space, and who has been in a million different things, but he's become a staple actor for the Coens. And then Frances McDermott, of course, for obvious reasons, she's there. But yeah, I feel like it's a masterful performance, an amazing movie, and just like you said, it holds up. And I went back and I watched all the Coen Brothers movies, everything that they had ever created, from the very beginning of their career, and I rated them all. Kind of similar to how we're doing with this show. I sat down and I meticulously went through all of them, expecting Raising Arizona to fall somewhere in the middle, because like it had been a long time since I'd seen it, and it still ended up at the top of my list, tied at the top of the list with No Country for Old Men, because I couldn't choose between the two. They're just so amazing, both of them.
Yeah.
So it's you know, came out in 1987. It was their second movie, and it still holds up to this day. It's just brilliant. I love it.